It's devlog time. This is probably my least favorite part of starting any project because most of the stuff that I've got to do at first, at least, is related to design. I don't get to do a lot of coding. So this is probably going to be like the worst possible devlog for me, at least, just mainly because I've got to design my landing page. I announced last week in a video that I'll leave linked up somewhere that I was going to build 10 web applications in 1 year and release them to the public in some way, shape, or form, whether that's open source or actually put up on prod. The first one that I'm going to be doing is a landing page. So for me, my landing page has a couple of different goals. One, I want it to sum up who I am, what I do, what kind of research I've done, stuff like that. Two, I want it to be a place where people can go to get in contact with me for consulting and freelance gigs, because that's something that I would ideally like to do a little bit more of this year. And three, I want it to be kind of the landing page for people to go to all of my other projects so that they can kind of check them out, read more about them, and find what it is they want to find. So I don't need anything super complex for this. I need it to basically serve as a place for people to fill out a form for me to contact them later, and I need it to have a bunch of links. So I'm not going to go super fancy with any kind of authentication for this, obviously. This is just going to be a basic React application. That said, I'm not going to be using Create React App. I'm going to make a video about this at some point in time about why I kind of think I need to move away from that. But I did start this React project from scratch using just the basic tools. I'm going to be using Tailwind CSS for this. I'm going to be using probably a very simple API, or I might just honestly just pipe it straight to MailChimp or something like that. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do there. But for now, I need to work on the design. So I always have used Figma for design, and I want to put a massive asterisk next to most of this in saying that I am absolute trash at design. I'm taking a couple of courses right now to get a little bit better at it, but I am absolute garbage at design. Do not take any of this as holy writ or even necessarily good advice. But I've been using Figma for a couple of years to do things like thumbnails and basic designs for the sites that I have built out, and I'm going to continue using that because folks say that it's pretty good. So I'm going to sketch out everything that I want to do using Figma. I'm going to start with the mobile version of the site or of the application because A, I heard a designer tell me that I should do that, and B, it's kind of the most resource restricted version of a website or a web application that you can make. So if you can go ahead and make the mobile version of it, the desktop and tablet and every other version should be a little bit easier. I want this to be responsive because for it to be a landing page, you never really know where people are coming from. Most of them are probably going to be on mobile because that's where most of my usership on YouTube, for example, comes from, and LinkedIn and things like that. So I do want it to be responsive to mobile designs and things like that. So let's get to Figma. So if you look at the screen here, this is kind of like the gist of what I'm going for. I've got the basics of the color scheme down. I'm going for like 2 different colors of green, some whites for high contrast stuff. These are going to be social icons. I haven't really filled them in yet. I'll have like a headshot here. Probably should get that professionally done, but I may or may not do that. And then just kind of like a very brief about me blurb. And then there's going to be a link somewhere in here or somewhere up here, I haven't really decided yet, that's going to take you down, like scroll you down to the contact form. But in between that and the next one is going to be the project. So this is eventually going to be the projects page. I basically just duplicated the one up top, and I can get rid of all of this. So this right here is going to be the actual projects cards that folks can look at. That'll give kind of a blurb as well as a link to all of the different projects that I'm working on. So that's going to be the stuff that I've worked on previously, as well as this 10 web applications in a year thing. But for right now that I'm kind of at a decent stopping point, I'm going to start working on the screen. So at this point, I've kind of sped things up a little bit because there's really no point in you watching me struggle through trying to get Tailwind to work for like probably 2 hours. I ran into this issue where I had set up Tailwind and React both separately from scratch, which is a good thing. I had said earlier that I'm trying to avoid using Create React App wherever possible, and that's a great thing, but that also means that you need to configure Webpack to work kindly with Tailwind, to work kindly with everything else, and I just struggled with getting all of that to work. Eventually, I got it. Thankfully, as you can see, I managed to get all of these custom colors in and things like that, and everything was refreshing nicely, but holy shit, was that a problem. I'm probably going to write up a couple of blogs to just kind of document my progress through this and, kind of explain away a lot of the issues that I had. But here you'll just kind of see, I'm working through creating all of the styling, creating all of the spans necessary to, basically stylize individual pieces of text within a block, different things like that. So nothing particularly interesting. Like I said before, this is just kind of how my workflow works. I kind of work through everything in chunks. I like to break things up by chunks in like view height. So, this is me kind of working on the top of the screen. Aside from the nav bar, I'm going to work on that later. And I break everything up into individual components. So here you'll see I'm creating a social component that's going to hold basically the individual icon for each individual social link that I'm going to have. And then I'll create this miniaturized subcomponent basically that is going to hold all of the information, and I'll load all of that in through props. So I'll create a switch statement that's basically going to say for each individual, social link, switch on the type, and depending on what type it is, GitHub, YouTube, LinkedIn, blah, 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 then we're going to load a different logo. We're going to load a different link. I took a little bit to figure out exactly how to get the link and all of the styling to work for that. So obviously that's one of the reasons why I'm fast forwarding through all of this, but eventually I figured it all out, and you've got all of the social links kind of linking to different places. And that is about it. I do not think I finished as much as I really wanted to with this. So if we look over here, not just a ton done. We've got the hero section. We've got all of these links here. I'll do a quick walkthrough of the code. We've got our main app open here. This is app.tsx. We have only got one component here, the hero section thus far. If we open that up, hop into components, hero section, we've got a basic, hero section written out in all of the text here, using spans to kind of, change the coloring a little bit. So we've got one color here, we've got another color here that's using spans. I actually kind of want to fix this real quick. Font bold, make it look a little bit better. There we go. And we've got our, main hero section, just kind of explaining exactly who it is I am. And then we've got our social section. That is a smaller subcomponent. And this subcomponent actually has a mini component. So I'll walk through here. This social component right here is that mini component that I created up here. Mini components for me are just components that don't deserve their own file. So this is just kind of like a very, very small, tiny component, thus mini component. And all it really is a href that is wrapping a rounded div that has an image inside of it. So depending on what prop we are passing here, it's going to switch out the image, the logo image, as well as the link. So that's basically how this is working. Mini components, they're fairly simple to create. Using basic Flexbox layouts here, nothing super fancy there either. And I had a hell of a time trying to get all of my Tailwind styling working, but you can pop over and look at the custom colors that I've created there. So we've got our dark background, our dark green that you saw in the hero section, a gray blue that I haven't used yet, and a bright green that you saw in the hero section as well. So fairly simple stuff thus far. I'm going to work a little bit on this outside of camera just because it's kind of boring to show 45 minutes of coding sped up. But I will be working on this throughout the rest of the week, and we'll have another devlog coming next week on this project. Take it easy. Peace.